Hi there, and I've got a parcel of Lego pieces which make up 2 more parts of set 886. So welcome to part 2 of building an upscale Lego space buggy. So before we get building, I just need to say a huge thank you for everyone who's watching. I had an incredible response to part 1 with lots of amazing comments, but also lots of comments with people's worries and questions. So before we open up this package of pieces, I thought I'd address the most common comments that I got. So firstly, several people commented that I never actually showed any of these pieces fitting together, and I can assure you they fit together really well. So if we get our 2x4 there, we can sit our jumper on the end like that, and our spare 1x1 plates there, so they do fit together really nicely. They look good when they're all together. And then this leads on to about 1,000,001 comments concerning clutch power. Now, just in case there are any Lego newbies out there, in technical Lego terms, these are called studs on top, and underneath are what's known as anti-studs. And clutch power is the force that when you put these together, the top plate clutches onto the bottom plate and they don't fall apart. And this is achieved because the studs on top fit in between the anti-studs, the circles underneath, and sort of the friction caused there holds the pieces together. Now, a lot of people commented that I'd forgotten to put the anti-studs underneath the 2x4 like this piece here, and also under the 1x2 jumper plate. And because of this, there would be no clutch power to hold the pieces together. Now, at actual Lego size, the tolerances between pieces are so amazingly small that when you put together, there's a massive amount of friction caused between the pieces. Whereas at this scale, there is absolutely no friction whatsoever. So adding the bottom tubes underneath wouldn't make them hold together, they'd just be for decorative purposes. And as the cost of this project is starting to spiral out of control ever so slightly, I always thought I would save on the parts and therefore save money and not include those underneath, especially as once it's all been put together, no one would ever see them. The only way that I could actually achieve these pieces sticking together was if I didn't use these lovely smooth tile pieces on top and I used bricks with studs instead. So we had round light grey pieces like this with studs on, which would then click to the other pieces. But I think that would really spoil the finished effect, and I was also considering making some custom graphics saying Lego and putting them on the studs here to represent the Lego logos on the top of all the regular size studs. So the only way that these pieces are going to fit together is that as I put them together, I'm going to have to make slight adjustments to the various pieces. So then we can have some studs on top and they will attach to the studs of the piece above. So in my part calculations, if this was the 2x6 and the jumper plate was going to go on the front like this, I'm not going to leave these 2 studs in place because they will get covered up and they'll never get seen again. So the studs will get removed and some of the tiles underneath will get replaced by regular plates. The next comment which I got a lot of was that I'd made the hollow stud on the jumper plate lower than the regular stud on the other plates. Now, this was on purpose. I have always thought that the hollow stud on top of a jumper plate was slightly smaller than a regular stud, but this seems to be just an optical illusion because we have the raised Lego logo on top of a regular stud. And I've had several people in the comments confirm that the hollow stud is exactly the same height as a regular stud. So my hollow stud being 2 plates high and the regular stud being 3 plates high, I've got to add a second one of these 2x2 round plates with a hole in the middle underneath. I've got one of those on order. I don't have any in my part storage, so that will get fixed, but it won't get fixed quite yet. Now, the next comment was quite surprising, but I got a fair few of them. Apparently, having these 2x4s horizontally and these 2x4s vertically was messing with an awful lot of people's OCD. So instead of having the 2x4 tiles like this, people wanted them placed like this. And for now, I'm completely happy to oblige so people don't have sleepless nights over it. However, they aren't going to be able to stay like that. They were actually placed like this for a reason, because when the air tanks get attached, this 2x4 plate, 2x4 tile has to get removed, and that will get replaced by a 1x4 tile and a 1x4 plates. So the air tanks have got some studs to grip to. But for now, we'll leave it like this because I must admit it does look a lot smarter this way. The next correction is a grammatical correction. In the last video, I was referring to this scale, this upscaled scale, as 1:6 because every 1 stud is now made into 6 studs. However, 1:6 would actually be a reduction. This scale should be 6:1. So if you hear me inadvertently say 1:6, please swap it around in your head and know that I actually mean 6:1. Or alternatively, I might try and refer to it as 6 times scale. And then hidden under this 2x4 plate is the last issue from the comments. And if I lift it up, yes, it's this huge scratch on my table. Several people wondered if it was a hair on my camera, and a couple of people also thought it was a crack on their screen. Someone asked if I could keep it covered during the build. However, the only thing large enough I've got to cover it up is a large grey base plate, and building in grey on grey is going to look pretty dull. So unfortunately, I'll just pre-warn everyone, there is a scratch here. If you see a scratch on your lens, it's on my desk and not on your screen. So hopefully that's dealt with all the questions and comments. As of filming, I've had 427 comments on the previous video, and I've managed to reply to every single one of those. I still endeavour to reply to every comment I get on every one of my videos. And I love interacting with people who watch my videos, so if you have any kind of comment or any kind of question, please leave it below and I'll make sure I reply to you. So without any further delay, let's open up this package and get out the new parts. Now all the pieces here build two more parts of our space buggy, which are the 2x2 45-degree slope and also the antenna. So firstly, these are all the parts that I need to build the antenna. Now as scale goes, the top of the antenna is just the same size as fitting in that hollow stud of the jumper plate. So scaling that up to 6 times, it means the antenna is the same width as the gap in the middle of this one, and that means it's a 2x2 round brick. Then at the bottom it gets slightly larger and then larger again, and the final circle fits over the top of a stud. So that has to be bigger than our 4x4 studs. So as the antenna gets slightly larger, I'm going to go for one of these 3x3 round bricks. It's going to be slightly too tall, but it's the best option that I could go for. And then for right at the bottom, I've got one of these bucket pieces, which I'm going to mount upside down, which is going to be slightly larger than our regular stud. Now for this to be mounted upside down, we need something to attach it to underneath. So we're going to work with these 2x2 Technic bricks, so they've got an axle in the middle. If I get a Technic axle and put it in there, and I've got 2 of these to go on top, that's going to give it some stability when standing up. Then we're going to slide the bucket on the top. That's also got an axle hole in the middle, so that can go over the top, and that should hold the whole thing together like that. Then we're going to get our 3x3, and that's going to slide on too. And then to give that a covering, I've got one of these 3x3 discs, and that's going to go on top like that. Now after measuring the height of a regular antenna, that equates to 19 of these 2x2 round bricks. So I'm going to join all those together and then stick them on top. So there's our column of bricks, and because 2x2 round bricks also have an axle hole in the middle, they will slide over the top of that and they'll grip together nicely. Now if this was a modern Lego antenna, it would have a flat top like this, and I just put a 2x2 round tile on top. However, the 1970s and 80s versions had this domed top, so I've got a different piece for that. So I've got the piece that Lego used for R2-D2 and other astromech droids' heads, and that will go just on top like that, and that gives our domed end. So now we have our 6:1 upscaled Lego antenna. And just a reminder from the beginning of the video, this is a scratch on my table, not a hair on my lens or a crack in your screen. And now onto the 2x2 45-degree slope. Now, as probably suspected, the 45-degree slope piece is going to use an awful lot of 45-degree slopes. We've got 13 of these 2x4s, and we've also got 4 of these 2x2s. So at 6:1 scale, we know that something that is 2 studs wide will end up being 12 studs wide. So we're going to start off with these 3 2x4 slopes. Then we're going to build a frame behind them. So I've got a 1x6 on each side, and then a 1x4, and then in between them a 1x10, and that's going to be very fragile until we can get our second layer on it. Now to make sure we don't get too many joints, on this side we're going to put a 2x2, and then have 2 2x4s in the middle, and then another 2x2 at the other end. And now we'll at least attach 2 of those bricks, and then behind we're going to attach a 1x8 to hold that in place, and then another 1x8 on the other side, then across the back 2 1x6s, and now we've got a more stable structure. So to keep all the joints staggered and the structure more stable, we're going to go back to 2x4 slopes on this layer. So we've got 1, 2, 3 of those, and then on the sides 2 1x8s take us all the way to the back, and a 1x10 across the back itself. So next layer, going back to 2x2s again, we've got a 2x2, 2x4, 2x4 and a 2x2, and then we can fill all these gaps up with 1x6s, 1 on each side. Oh, that didn't stick. 1 on each side, and then 2 across the back, and we're getting somewhere. And then for our last layer of bricks, again 3 more 2x4 slopes, and then a 1x6 on each side. Oopsie, that one fell in the middle. Let's put it back before anyone notices. None of you noticed that, did you? And then a 1x10 across the back. And that is our final layer of bricks. Now I'm sure the astute among you are saying, but Jez, this is 6:1. Why have you only built 5 layers? Why don't you do a 6th layer of bricks on top? Well, if I did add that 6th layer of bricks, when I wanted to then put plates and tiles on top to make the smooth surface, it's going to make it too tall. We don't want it higher than 6 bricks high. So we're going to have to build the rest of the structure with plates and a different type of slope. So our final layer is going to use this slope piece. Now this is also at 45 degrees like the other slopes. However, it's got this cutout on it, which allows you to put some plates on top. So I've got 2 6x6 plates, and I'm going to run an awful lot of these slope pieces along the front of them like that. And we end up with 2 pieces looking like this. Now they're going to be needed to be joined together, and also we've got it much lower at the back here than here, so we're going to add a 1x12 plate across the back, and then a 4x12 plate across the middle like that. And with that all joined together, it can sit on top of our slope up here. We need to press that all down, make sure they're all firmly pushed down and all the plates are connected all the way around. Make sure it's nice and stable, and that's the full height of our 2x2 slope. And with that all connected together, we've just got enough height to add our layer of tiles to give it that nice smooth finish. And to achieve that, we're going to use our trusty 2x4 tile, which I have ordered an awful lot of for this project. And that just leaves some space for some 2x2 plates to go in. And then we can attach our upscaled studs. Now, as before, the studs are just the 4x4 round brick, and then we're going to put a 2x2 round plate in the middle to give it a little bit of height, and then a 3x3 round tile on top. That gives us our nice smooth stud to go on top like that. And with the other stud attached, that's our completed 2x2 45 degree slope. And I think that is a really pleasing shape and a nice build. But of course, the 45 degree slope has the antenna attached to the back of it. So what we need to do, we're actually going to remove one of those studs for now and take out that plate in the middle if I can get hold of it. Like that. And then, using these 2x2 bricks from underneath the antenna, you can firmly attach them and then attach the antenna on top of it. And with the antenna attached to our 45 degree slope, there's our upscaled version. So with our 4 parts now complete, I really do like this new 45 degree slope piece. We have made a couple of compromises. On an original slope, we do get that flat edge on right down the bottom, and obviously I couldn't achieve that without making this shorter, so I wanted to keep it at its regular size, but I do like the look of this one. Also, I feel the bottom of the antenna, also a slight compromise with the bucket and the 3x3 round brick. This should be slightly smaller, but I couldn't find another piece that would sort of achieve the same effect. If you can think of something, do let me know in the comments below, and I'll try and swap that out and improve it. The next parts order which has been shipped to me are for the air tanks, so they're on their way and that'll be in the next video, but I do need some advice from anyone who can think of it on what to do about the little blaster piece. Now this can all be built up. These are the same size as our antenna, so these will be 2x2 round bricks, and we can go up to, this is the same size as stud, so 4x4 round bricks. However, the piece on the end is transparent green, and there are very, very few pieces that are made in this colour, especially not large curved pieces. Ideally, I'd like to use a 4x4 cylinder piece, and these come in transparent clear, but not transparent green. So if anyone knows of a relevant piece in green that I could use, or any other way I could achieve this round effect but in transparent green, please let me know in the comments. The final pieces to be made, therefore, are the 2x6 plate. Those pieces that have also been ordered and are also on their way to me. The last ones are then the 2 sets of wheels and the steering wheel. Those pieces have been ordered, however they haven't been shipped yet. So I imagine the last video will be the wheels and the steering wheel. Quite a few people also asked in the comments whether I was going to upscale the actual astronaut himself. Well, as the upscaled racing driver came out last Saturday, and I actually bought it last Monday, I'm going to open up that set and see what's involved in building it completely in white. Then the only thing to do would be add the air tanks on his back. So that requires a little bit more planning and a lot more parts ordering, but hopefully, yes, after I build the buggy, I will probably build the spaceman too. I also mentioned in part 1 that hopefully if I got this together in time, maybe I could take it to a show in April. And I'd like to announce that I have been accepted by the Brick Festival team to display this at the Woking Brick Festival. And that's going to be on Sunday, April the 13th. So if you live down south at all or anywhere near Woking and you're planning on going to the Woking Brick Festival, please come along and let me know that you've watched the video of this being built. And hopefully you'll be able to see it in person. Now that is only 4 weeks away, so I will definitely have the buggy built by then. I'm not entirely sure if I will have had the parts and been able to build the astronaut or even the blaster, but definitely the buggy will be finished by that date. So as always, please let me know what you think in the comments below, especially your thoughts about the new 45-degree slope and the antenna piece. If you've liked this video, please do give it a thumbs up, it really helps me out. And of course, please subscribe for part 3 of the upscaled space buggy and of course, more LEGO videos. This 2x4 here is going to have to be taken off. Whoops, that went everywhere, didn't it?